Hey guys. Okay, so let me give you the scenario on this video, the at least the way how it started. So a buddy of mine called me earlier and he was asking me how I got lined up on my stars in order to do a sequence to run a sequence with SGP. And I wasn't quite sure what he was talking about. And as he explained it out, he was using something that was written in an article a year or two ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, that you had to choose a star that you knew in the sky, and you would line up on it and then plate solve it so that SGP knew where it was at. And I've never had that experience. I didn't have to do that. And so I was telling him about the Framing and Mosaic wizard, which is in SGP, main sequence software, that basically did it for me. And so to show him what I was talking about, he was on his computer and I walked him through using it. And I thought, I wonder how many other people don't even realize that there's a module for that. And when I first got SGP last year, it was an add-on, the Framing a Mosaic Wizard, and it cost a couple of extra bucks. I think now that that's changed, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's changed now. I think it's part of the package, but the price went up a little bit. But don't quote me on that. Just go to the main sequence software website and check and see if Framing Mosaic Wizard comes with it. So all this is just a kind of a quick showing of what the capabilities of it are. And just to make it more interesting, what I've done is I just threw the telescope outside. I roughly know where north is off my back porch, so I just placed the scope facing north. I did not use the pole master. I did not do any polar alignment whatsoever. Honestly, it's very roughly balanced. All my cores are just hanging all over the place. I literally was just, let's throw it out there and do a quick video. And basically, the Gemini 2, when you're saying it's pointing north, it figures it's pointing north. And it doesn't know really where it's at. It just thinks that it's pointing north. And if you're truly polar aligned or not, this is what it's saying it should be, or where it's roughly at. And when you are polar aligning, you're doing mechanical adjustments anyway, so there's nothing going back into the Gemini 2 to tell you what's going on with it. It's just saying, yeah, this should be right. Okay? So let me go and unpark the scope while we're over here. So if you come up to the Framing a Mosaic Wizard, okay, which is up here under Tools, there it is right there, this pops up. And you just enter in your coordinates, or whatever you want, whatever the object number is. You can do it under the Messier, you can do it under NGC. You can even upload an image from like your last session, and it will play solve off of that image. But I'm just going to pull it from the catalog, and there's a whole way, if you install this, if it's not with the new one, that you have to go in and load all these catalogs. But it's not really all that difficult. Not difficult at all. A couple of things to check is come down here to define camera data, and this actually did it. My pixel scale is actually 0.82, and every now and then, for whatever reason, I guess it's a bug in the system, it will default to something weird. I don't know why. It just does it occasionally. It didn't do it at all over the weekend, but tonight, as you can see, I just pulled it up and it defaulted to that for whatever reason. So I just changed it back. Not sure what's going on there. This is to rotate your field, and then down here is where you're setting up tiles for mosaics. But I'm not going to go into that. That's just a whole nother video in itself. So if you just click fetch, it's going to go out and it's going to get a plate solve image from the catalogs that you loaded, right? And I'm just going to left click hold and drag a little bit, and this is going to pull up my field of view for my camera. And your field of view is right here, and it should be defaulted to 1. Sometimes it'll default to 4, or if you were looking at something the last time, whatever you left off at, it'll go back to. And basically all that is it gives you the field of view. So 1 to 1 this is exactly what it's going to look like in my camera. This is framed for the picture that the camera is going to take, and that's based on my pixel scale and my pixel size. And if you increase that up to like say 2 or 3, your box is going to get smaller, the object's going to go further away. And again, that's more if you're trying to do mosaics, but it's also good too if you have like a large nebula and you're trying to get just corners of it or something. And if you went out to field of view 2, you can move this around to center exactly the way you want it. So, this is a galaxy, a big one. I'm going to stick it right in the center, right? You're going to come down here, you're going to hit create sequence, and you get this box that pops up. And it's going to give you a couple of options. One is to append the target to your sequence, the other is to replace your target. So when you first start up SGP, you'll have that up there in the left corner, it'll say target 1. And you can hit append, and it's just going to add this one underneath that target. So if you have multiple sequences going on, not that you can do them all at the same time, but if you're going back every night to go back and get more data from it, you want to hit append. Otherwise, just hit replace. And you can uncheck these. I don't ever do it here. I'll show you where I do uncheck this stuff, but I leave everything else as default, but I just go to replace. So I'm going to hit OK, and it's kicking off my auto guider here, which is fine. It's created my new target. There it is, M81. Now this is where I go into the little setting circle here, and you want to click slew 2 when target starts, and you want to make sure center on is also ticked. So those 2 boxes get ticked. If you don't have a rotator, come down here and unclick rotate. If you don't, you're going to get an error that'll pop up and say, hey, you need a telescope to do this, genius. And you're like, I've got a telescope. And you'll look and you'll see you're connected. But if that happens, click no, go here into the settings gear, and untick rotate camera. All right, so we're going to hit OK. I'm going to select a run here, and we're just going to use a luminance filter. I ain't going to worry about my suffix, and we're just going to do 45 seconds. Hopefully that'll work. Again, I really haven't truly balanced the mount. I don't even know how it's going to perform at this point as far as any kind of kiting. And I'm not going to image tonight. I'm literally just doing this to show you all how it works. So once you're all set and done, just hit run resume sequence, and it's going to start the sequence. So right now, if you come down here, you'll say it's slewing to target M81, and then it just popped up down there showing that my mount is moving. Now I'm just going to stick my head outside the door. And yep, that's where it's going. It's going up to that area of the sky. And now what it's going to do, well, it's going to kick on the auto guider. Or, excuse me, it's going to click off the auto guider if it was on. And what it's doing is it's taking a 5-second picture of where it's at in the sky. And it's going to chew through that data. It's going to look at the star field compared to all the other star fields in the catalog. And it's trying to match up to where it needs to go. So what it's doing right now is, in fact, this did a lot quicker than I thought it would. It is going in and taking a picture, and it's comparing it to that plate solve image that we had over here. So this is what you're seeing. It's sitting there just going through it, trying to extract, trying to find out where it's at. And it just did, matter of fact, that did it a lot quicker. I did it a lot quicker than I thought. I didn't even get a chance to show you what it was doing there. But it just went and found it. And it did it in less than, was it 3 iterations? Maybe it was even 2 iterations. And if you saw down there at the bottom, it showed how many pixels it was off, which it did it a lot quicker than I thought it was going to do. I figured it would take a long time to chew through it. But there's definitely settings you want to have in order to maximize for it to catch it, and I'll show you those settings here in just a second. So it's already started the auto guider, and it's there's the plate solve image right there. So there's the original from the plate solve. There's the 5 seconds exposure that it took, and it's checking the star locations against its catalog, and it's lining them up, and now it's taking its image. So at this point, no polar alignment, very rough setup. Actually found it within 3 iterations, which was actually past my expectations. I wanted to be able to chance to actually show you what it was doing, but it didn't want to do that. And restarted the auto guider, and here we go. So this should pop up. Yeah, we don't want to run into sequence yet. And there it is, right there. So it's a little reversed, obviously, because of the way it is. But there it is in the center. And here it is in the center of mine, right there. We can even try to blow it up a little bit. There you go. You can see the tendrils coming out from the arms. So that's how it works. Again, I don't bother using Stellarium with the telescope track, the go-to scope on Stellarium. I haven't even done any alignment stars. I haven't done 1 star, haven't done 2, haven't done 3. Typically nowadays, I don't even bother doing it. Ever since I had heard on a blog one night that, in all honesty, a lot of people question if you even have to do an alignment if you're plate solving, and there's other plate solve programs that are out there. This is just the one for SGP. And so some people don't even bother doing a star alignment unless they're going to be doing visual. Now, also make sure you understand, though, that using a plate solve in SGP does not mean you don't need a polar line. If you want good, accurate tracking, you need to make sure that you're polar aligned. And you can see here, from what it's doing, it is all over the place. And for certain, I don't want to take that up too much. You can see, oh, here's my error right here. You can see my error is way, way off, but it was just good enough to get a 45-second shot in there. So, an amazing feature. If you haven't used it, try it out. And if you do have it and you're utilizing it, then, way to go. You've made your job a whole lot easier. So, there it is. There's the experiment. Oh, one thing I wanted to show you. So, when you're in Equipment Profile Manager, and you've set up your equipment, on your plate solve tab, this is where you're going to be loading in those catalogs that you need. But this is important right here. The attempt to center and until error is less than. Okay. I've heard some people that are like, oh, the plate solve doesn't work and it's not getting it and it keeps failing. Well, your attempt to center may be too low. 6 seems to be a good number. So what it's going to do is 6 times it's going to chew through the images and move the scope each time to try to get it where it needs to be. And what I've told it is, you get it to center as close as you can until the error is less than 60 pixels. So if you've got 10 pixels here and 1 centering attempt, your chances are it will not work. And I'm saying this from experience because I had this at one point down to 3 and it wouldn't do it, and I had my pixel value set down to like 20 and it didn't work. And I believe I got these settings from Chuck, and I think he had 6 and 60, and that's what I went with, and it works well. In some cases, maybe you have to do 8 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. Just experiment with it and see how it's working. But yeah, so it takes 6 times to try to find the center of the image to plate solve, and my error is less than 60 pixels, and that's exactly what just happened. That's exactly what just happened. It did exactly what I told it to do. So, amazing feature. If you're not using it, I would strongly suggest you utilize it because it's going to make your job so much easier. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.